If you can't aim, then you're probably not gonna hit the target. Welcome back to our series on the fundamentals of rifle marksmanship. And in this video, we're gonna be talking about aiming, which is the process of aligning your rifle with the target. There are many methods for aiming, and the situation will dictate which method you should use. Some scenarios may require you to focus intently on the front sight post, while other scenarios may require you to look at the target. Understand that aiming is not the end, but a means to the end. So it doesn't matter which technique you use, so long as it's reliable and realistic for a given context. Aiming consists of two parts: sight alignment and sight picture. Sight alignment is the alignment of your aiming eye with the sights. And then sight picture is the alignment of your aiming eye, the sights, and the target, or superimposing your sight alignment on top of the target. But before attempting to learn how to aim, it's important that you understand your ocular or your eye dominance. One method for determining eye dominance is to make a diamond shape with your hands, or if you only have one hand, then just make a ring with the fingers of that hand, and pick an object. Could be a mailbox, a light switch, a target. Try to put that object inside of that diamond shape or inside of that ring. And then once it's there, I want you to slowly bring your hands back to your eye. Whichever eye your hands go to, that's probably your dominant eye. Now, if you are left-handed and right-eye dominant, or if you're right-handed and left-eye dominant, that means you have cross dominance. And if you are cross-eye dominant, I recommend that you hold the rifle so that you can aim with your dominant eye, even if that means that you are shooting with your non-dominant hand. Because if you are right-handed and left-eye dominant, you don't want to be shooting right-handed while trying to contort your head over the stock to use your left eye. So, if you're left-eye dominant, you should shoulder the rifle in your left shoulder and hold the pistol grip with your left hand. And if you are right-eye dominant, you should shoulder the rifle in your right shoulder and then hold the pistol grip with your right hand. The reason for this is because of how critical aiming is in the fundamentals of marksmanship. However, if you still prefer to shoot with your dominant hand, there are methods to train and strengthen your non-dominant eye. Okay, so now that we know which eye is our dominant eye, let's talk about aiming and how to properly aim the rifle. I like to tell people that the sights are always aligned, but it's your job to align the sights with your aiming eye and then align all of those three things with the target. And most rifles, particularly AR type rifles, have a rear sight aperture and then a front sight post. And to achieve correct sight alignment, you want to center the tip of the front sight post both vertically and horizontally in the rear sight aperture. Imagine if there were horizontal and vertical lines drawn through the center of the rear sight aperture. The top of the front sight post would appear to touch the horizontal line, and then the vertical line would split the front sight post in half. And then proper sight picture is superimposing that image of that proper sight alignment on the center of mass of the target. And when first learning how to aim, I recommend that you first learn how to do correct sight alignment without any target. You can do this by using the unprinted backside of a target or a blank wall that obviously has a safe backdrop. And it should go without saying, but make sure that your weapon is always oriented in the safest direction. And whatever you're aiming at does not have people on the other side.
Right to jail, right away.
And then, once sight alignment becomes easy, work on projecting those sights onto a target while maintaining sight alignment. And this next part might sound extremely counterintuitive, but when you're learning how to shoot and when you're trying to apply a precise shot, it's important to focus on your front sight, not on the target.
That doesn't make sense.
And this means that you want your front sight post to be crystal clear with a blurry target and a blurry rear sight aperture. And the reason it's important to focus on your front sight post is that poor sight alignment has more bearing on accuracy than poor sight picture, because sight alignment errors grow as the distance to the target increases. However, an error in sight picture remains constant regardless of the distance to the target. Think of it this way: if you have perfect sight alignment and you aim just to the right of your target, you will always hit just to the right of your target, obviously ignoring other ballistic factors like wind. But if you have poor sight alignment, that poor sight alignment is going to magnify and grow as the distance to the target increases.
It's science.
Also, your eyes can only focus on one object and at one distance at a time. And to help illustrate this, here's an example of focusing on the target with blurry sights. And then finally, here's an example of focusing on the front sight post with a blurry rear sight and a blurry target. So since sight alignment has more effect on accuracy than sight picture, it's more important to focus on that front sight post. However, it's okay to briefly shift your focus back and forth between the front sight post and the target in order to ensure that you're maintaining a good sight picture before taking the shot. And as I stated previously, there are occasions where target focus or halfway focus somewhere between the front sight post and the target are perfectly acceptable aiming methods and might even be necessary for some applications. But if you're a new shooter, then don't worry about these other aiming methods for now, and make sure that you maintain your focus on that front sight post so that it's crystal clear. I also recommend that you don't just focus anywhere on the front sight post. I recommend that you focus on the top left corner or top right corner. The reason for this is if you focus just anywhere on the front sight post, it's difficult for your eyes to stay still, and so they're going to be continually moving. But if you focus on the top right corner or the top left corner, that helps to fix your eye in one location and helps with sight alignment. And speaking of eyes, you might be wondering if you should be shooting with both eyes open or if you should be keeping your non-dominant eye closed. And I would say that it depends. I believe in training in a way that prepares you to defend yourself or others should you ever need to use your gun in a fight. So I like to shoot with both eyes open because it provides me with more situational awareness of my surroundings. However, there are two exceptions where I would recommend occluding or closing your non-dominant eye. The first being if you are a new shooter learning sight alignment and sight picture for the first time. If you are unfamiliar with aiming, then having both eyes open may be distracting and present too much information to process. So either closing that eye or occluding it could help you as you learn to obtain good sight alignment and a good sight picture. The other exception would be for taking precise shots. In the intro video to this series, you can see me momentarily closing or squinting my non-dominant eye a few times while aiming. I do this to ensure that I have good sight alignment and a good sight picture before taking the shot. However, as you can see in that clip, it is absolutely possible to take a precise shot with both eyes open. Next, let's talk about some factors that affect aiming, such as stock weld, eye relief, prescription lenses, adjustable stocks, sight radius, and then rear sight aperture diameter. Stock weld is the contact between your cheek and the stock of the rifle. Your head should be oriented so that your nose is pointed in a way that is parallel with the weapon as much as possible. This places your eye in a neutral position to prevent eye strain. If your head position causes you to look across the bridge of your nose or out from under your eyebrow, the aiming eye will be strained. And then eye relief is the distance between the rear sight aperture and your aiming eye. Normal eye relief is about 2 to 6 inches, and this distance depends on the shooter's size and the firing position. If the aiming eye is too close to the rear sight aperture, it will be difficult to center the front sight post in the rear sight aperture because the aperture will appear too large. So moving the aiming eye back will make the aperture appear smaller and aid you in centering the top of the front sight post in the rear sight aperture. It's also important to note that prescription glasses and even eye protection can alter the perception of sight alignment and sight picture. So it's important to look through the optical center of the lens rather than the edge of the lens where the image might be distorted. So now let's talk about some mechanical factors that affect aiming. And first we'll talk about adjustable stocks. Adjustable stocks are any type of stock that can be adjusted. So an extended stock is obviously going to provide more eye relief, and then a more collapsed stock is going to lessen the eye relief. Next, let's talk about sight radius. Sight radius is the distance from your rear sight aperture to your front sight post. And the reason this is important is that with a shorter sight radius, deviations in your sight alignment will not be as apparent as they would be with a larger sight radius. And then we have rear sight aperture diameter. And rear sight aperture diameter is basically just the diameter of the hole that you were looking through in the rear sight aperture.
It's a circle.
And then most AR15s have a larger aperture, sometimes referred to as a ghost ring, and then a smaller one called a peep sight. And just with the eye relief, where the further back you are, the smaller that hole appears, the size of that diameter can also affect aiming. So a smaller diameter will make it easier to align the front sight post. However, it may make it more difficult to identify and find an aiming point on the target. But a larger diameter would make it easier to identify targets, but it may make it harder to align the front sight post. Another way to understand the importance of sight radius and aperture diameter is to consider what would be involved in drawing a precise line between 2 points. If you were to place 2 dots too close to one another, then any small mistakes would lead to larger mistakes as the line extends outward. Also, if one of the dots you used were too large, then it would be difficult to find the center of the large dot. So the best method for making a precise line using 2 points is to have the points as far away from each other as feasible and have each dot as small as possible. This way, you mitigate human error when connecting the dots. I know this video is primarily on iron sights, but for those of you using red dots, it's important that you focus on the target instead of on the reticle. Because if you try to focus on the reticle of a red dot, it's going to appear blurry. However, once you extend your focus to the target, you'll notice that the reticle image sharpens up. That concludes this lesson on aiming. If you haven't already, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button, and also hit that bell so you'll be notified of our future video on trigger control. Thanks again for watching, and until next time, train to a higher standard.